Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 16 running back start or sit decisions for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, we're going to be going in depth into every single matchup from Thursday Night Football all the way until Monday Night Football, and I'll be telling you guys whether I believe you should start or sit the running backs in every single matchup. But before we could get on into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I would also like to ask, if you guys are on Twitter and would like to follow me on there, to please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 16 running back start or sit decisions. We begin with Thursday Night Football, the San Francisco 49ers at the Tennessee Titans. In this game, the San Francisco 49ers will be without Elijah Mitchell for the third straight game, so Jeff Wilson will be the lead running back on the team. Now, going into last week, I was not very excited about Jeff Wilson. Now, I did say in the start or sit video that you can start Jeff Wilson, but I wasn't excited about top 12 potential, because over the last couple of games, when Elijah Mitchell has been banged up and Jeff Wilson was the quote-unquote leader in the backfield, he wasn't really taking over in the same way that Elijah Mitchell did. It didn't seem to me, at least from the outside peeking in, that Kyle Shanahan had full confidence in giving the reins to Jeff Wilson. So I thought, you know what? He'll be a fine running back on the week, but I'm not very excited to start him. And boy, was I wrong, because Jeff Wilson dominated last week, and I think he could do the exact same thing up against the Tennessee Titans this week, who are just a middle-of-the-pack run defense, especially if Kyle Shanahan shows that complete trust to him and gives him a shit ton of carries here up against the Tennessee Titans. I definitely like Jeff Wilson. On the other side of the ball, we got D'Onta Foreman, running back of the Tennessee Titans. Now, a couple of weeks ago, there was definitely a debate that I was just about 50-50 on, if it was going to be D'Onta Foreman or Dontrell Hilliard as the lead back of the Tennessee Titans. And that debate turned out to basically be stupid, because D'Onta Foreman is the clear #1 running back of the Tennessee Titans going up against the San Francisco 49ers this week. Not the most ideal of matchups, but considering how much work he has been getting, and with A.J. Brown potentially returning this week, I think the offense will look a little bit better, thus them being able to run the ball a little bit more, and D'Onta Foreman should be successful in this matchup. For the other running backs, with Jeff Wilson really taking over as the clear lead running back, you don't really want anything to do with JaMycal Hasty and Dontrell Hilliard. Like I said, it is very clear that D'Onta Foreman is the lead running back on this team. Next up, we move to the first game on Christmas, the Cleveland Browns at the Green Bay Packers. In this game, I'll be firing up 9-inch Nicholas Chubb up against the Green Bay Packers. Nick Chubb had an excellent performance last week up against the Las Vegas Raiders, and I think he is going to be able to repeat that in this game up against the Green Bay Packers. With Kareem Hunt out, they do use D'Ernest Johnson, but it's not really in that same role that you would think, because when it's Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they utilize both of them. It's not necessarily a 50-50 split, but they're both out there getting some work. Kareem Hunt obviously seeing more receiving work, Nick Chubb getting more rushing work. But with D'Ernest Johnson there, while they do use him, it's not really in the same fashion, so D'Ernest Johnson isn't technically in the Kareem Hunt role, so he's definitely going to be a sit for me this week, and I'm definitely fine playing Nick Chubb. For the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Jones as well as A.J. Dillon are start-worthy running backs. Now, would I prefer to start Aaron Jones? Of course, because Aaron Jones is the lead back in this scenario. But it seems like every week, A.J. Dillon is just scratching away at the upside of Aaron Jones, because he's clawing his way into getting more and more work on the team. And reasonably so, right? Because A.J. Dillon is a really good player. Aaron Jones is fucking amazing as well. But when you can have a nice 1-2 punch of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, then you are going to utilize both of them, even though they gave a fat paycheck to Aaron Jones in the offseason. I think A.J. Dillon does have fantasy relevance, especially if this game is a very one-sided affair. If the Green Bay Packers are beating the ever-living shit out of the Cleveland Browns, then A.J. Dillon is going to see a lot of work down the stretch of the game when they are already up by 1,000,000. If this is a very close game, then we probably won't see as much A.J. Dillon. I definitely think you can start him this week, but I'm not as excited, anywhere near excited, as I would be to be starting Aaron Jones up against the Cleveland Browns. Next up, we move to the final game on Christmas. We got the Indianapolis Colts at the Arizona Cardinals. In this game, I love Jonathan Taylor, and that should be pretty obvious at this point in the season. The guy is just fantastic game in and game out. He was not doing all that much up against the Patriots. They kind of contained him. Now, by contained, I don't mean that they stopped him, but they kind of limited him just dropping a deuce on the defense. But then right at the end of the game, Jonathan Taylor just turned on the fucking NOS like he's in a video game and just went fast as fuck right into the end zone. Jonathan Taylor is a must-start player every single week. This guy might be the fantasy football MVP going up against the Arizona Cardinals, who just got shellacked by the Detroit Lions. I don't think that's going to happen here. I think the Cardinals will actually wake up and play well in this game. But in terms of the Indianapolis Colts, you definitely got to play Jonathan Taylor. Now, for the Arizona Cardinals, since they were so down bad in that game, just getting absolutely shellacked by Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, they weren't really able to run the football with all that much efficiency, and since they were down so much, they weren't even really able to run the ball at all. James Conner took a huge hit in that matchup, though I still do believe that James Conner is the running back to play out of the two of him and Chase Edmonds. I think if you are in a deeper league, then you could think about playing Chase Edmonds, but the Indianapolis Colts defense is pretty solid up against the run, so I'm not all that excited to start Chase Edmonds. I think James Conner will have a bounce back game this week. I do still believe that he is going to be the lead back, especially when they get in the red zone. Even if Chase Edmonds just ran 90 yards and now they're on the 2-yard line, they say, fuck it, Chase Edmonds. James Conner will do it himself and he will barrel his way into the end zone. So I like James Conner this week for a bounce back game. And again, I love Jonathan Taylor. Next up, we move to the beginning of the Sunday slate with the New York Football Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. In this game, I'm going to start Miles Sanders. He has performed in back-to-back games. I understand that, it was up against the Jets, it was up against the Washington football team. It's not like the Giants are all that much better than those defenses. I think Miles Sanders is going to continue to be the lead running back on the team. At the beginning of the year, when he fucking sucked, they weren't giving him the ball at all, Nick Sirianni finally figured out that, hey, let's give the ball to Miles Sanders. He dominated last night in that game up against the Washington football team, and I will expect nothing short of greatness up against the New York Football Giants this week. For the Giants, I'm sick of Saquon Barkley. I understand that he is the lead back on the team, but Devontae Booker is doing more with less, it feels like. Saquon Barkley has been a complete and utter unmitigated fucking disaster for your roster. This guy was a complete and utter bust, and if you see it any other way, I don't know what you're fucking watching. You need to get your eyes checked because Saquon Barkley has completely sucked. I assume that if you made it to the playoffs and Saquon Barkley is on your team, he is just getting carried by the other players. I understand he had a solid game a couple of weeks ago, but at the end of the day, I just don't trust it. Up against Philly, I'm sitting down Saquon Barkley. Devontae Booker, I'm sitting him as well, but if I'm being honest with you, he does look better than Saquon Barkley. For the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to use Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard will miraculously probably vulture a fucking touchdown in this game, but at the end of the day, Miles Sanders is the clear lead back, and I love Sanders up against the Giants, so Jordan Howard can take a seat on the bench. Next up, we move to the LA Rams at the Minnesota Vikings. The LA Rams running back core seems like Sony Michel is the lead running back. I was wrong. I thought, hey, Darrell Henderson coming off of all of this rest, he's going to be perfectly fine. He is going to have a great game last night up against the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks really were able to stay in that game, and Darrell Henderson wasn't seeing all that much usage. It's pretty clear to me, based upon the eye test, that Sony Michel is the guy. But I am not going to go ahead and sit here in my chair and yell aggressively about the fact that Sony Michel is the clear lead running back. I do not believe that. I would not be surprised at all up against the Minnesota Vikings if we saw a little bit more of Darrell Henderson. And maybe even a little more so that he is able to see more work than Sony Michel. So I'm going to sit Darrell Henderson. I'm going to start Sony Michel. But my confidence in either of these running backs, despite this being a pretty solid running back matchup up against the Minnesota Vikings, I am just not very excited about either of them. Dalvin Cook, this guy's a fucking monster. You're going to start him every single game as well, without a doubt. I don't even really need to talk too much about it. Up against the Chicago Bears, he had a pretty solid game. Here up against the Rams defense, obviously far from an amazing matchup, right? This is no wet dream matchup for Dalvin Cook, but he should be able to run hard in this game, catch a couple of passes, and potentially finish as the #1 running back on the week when Dalvin Cook is healthy. Alexander Mattison is basically as irrelevant as it gets because they just use Dalvin Cook as the clear lead back. Now, when Dalvin Cook gets hurt, knock on wood, we don't root for injuries here, then Alexander Mattison is amazing, but when Dalvin Cook is in the game, you just want nothing to do with Alexander Mattison. Next up, we move to the Buffalo Bills at the New England Patriots, which has to be just one of the most interesting games of the week. I don't really think this is going to be like a 50-50 game, right, where it's like a super high scoring game, and maybe when I say 50-50, you might think I mean coin flip, but like a 42-37 crazy ass game, right? I don't think that's what's going to happen here between the Bills and the Patriots, but it's going to be interesting to see this game happen where there isn't a fucking tornado happening in the game, right? Like we saw a couple of weeks ago between the Bills and the Patriots. Devin Singletary does appear to be the lead back of the Buffalo Bills. Now, I will say that with a lot of caution, because out of nowhere, Matt Breida could be the lead running back, Zach Moss could be the lead running back. The Patriots defense is pretty fucking good against the run, so I'm not overwhelmingly advocating, hey, you gotta start Devin Singletary, but if you're looking at running backs, you can definitely start him this week as a lower-end running back, maybe a high-end running back 3. For the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson, if he plays, is the guy that I want to be starting in this game. Now, the reason why I say if he plays is because he has not really been practicing. Damian Harris also dealing with injuries as well, so fan-fucking-tastic. Maybe we end up with Brandon Bolden as the lead running back in this game, though the game's all the way on Sunday. We're talking on Wednesday, so got to continue to monitor that injury report. If Ramondre Stevenson plays, I'm going to start him because I think he is the clear lead running back in this scenario with him and Damian Harris at this point in the season. For the Buffalo Bills, Matt Breida definitely the backup, definitely going to sit him down, and then Damian Harris. Like, again, I think he's a good player, but if Stevenson is healthy, I think they do roll with him getting a lot more of the touches, especially if Damian Harris is banged up by the time this game starts on Sunday. Next up, we move to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Carolina Panthers. In this game, I only like Ronald Jones. Now, Uncle Lenny went down. There are reports that they're going to be putting him on the IR, and while that sucks, obviously, if you have Leonard Fournette, this is perfect news for Ronald Jones. Now, if you remember in the offseason, if you watch my videos in the offseason, I thought it was basically a 50-50 coin flip between him and Ronald Jones. A lot of people were taking Leonard Fournette earlier than Ronald Jones, so I thought, you know what, why not just take the round discount or 2-round discount, take Ronald Jones, right? Maybe he won't be the lead running back, but to me it was like a 50-50 chance. When in reality, we get into the regular season, and it is very clear that Uncle Leonard Fournette is the clear lead running back, but now Leonard Fournette has vanished. He is not going to be there, and Ronald Jones will be the clear lead running back. Don't fucking worry about Keyshawn Vaughn. He will do nothing, as Conor McGregor would say. Ronald Jones up against the Carolina Panthers. This is a wet dream matchup. If Leonard Fournette was playing in this game, I would talk about how he might be the #1 running back on the week. Am I as confident in Ronald Jones? No, because he got beat out by Leonard Fournette, but hey, at the end of the day, I think he could really finish as a top 5 running back, definitely a top 12 running back here up against the Carolina Panthers. For the Panthers, they've got Amir Abdullah, they've got Chuba Hubbard. I honestly am sick and tired of the Carolina Panthers. The report came out today that they're going to use Cam Newton, but they're also going to try to get in Mono Man Sam in this game. There is just nothing that I want to do with this Carolina Panthers offense besides DJ Moore, who I'll just fire out there and hope he catches a couple of balls and is able to get like 80 yards and he'll have an alright game. I understand that the Buccaneers just got bent over a table by the New Orleans Saints, but Nick, it was only 9-0. More the fact that it was just embarrassing. Like, how do you not score Tom Brady? I don't know, but they're going to lay the hammer to the Panthers, so I don't expect too many points for Chuba Hubbard or Amir Abdullah. But before we break down the next game at the running back position, I would like to ask that if you have ended up enjoying thus far, please make sure that you hit that like button as well as that subscribe button down below. It would help me out a ton. Next up, we move to the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Jumbo Jets. Just an amazing matchup. We've got Trevor Lawrence versus Zach Wilson, the #1 versus the #2 pick. Round of applause. So exciting, right? Actually, the exact fucking opposite. The Jets, one of their players named Michael Carter, got COVID. But guess what? They have a player named Michael Carter on offense and on defense. So the one who got it was on defense. Let's hope Michael Carter is able to stay safe. Michael Carter was a guy that I was excited about last week up against the Dolphins. And boy, was I wrong because he was fucking bad. James Robinson, though, with the bad man Urban Meyer gone, James Robinson is a key focal point in this offense. And I believe up against the Jumbo Jets, who just got their shit pushed in by Duke fucking Johnson last week, I believe that James Robinson is going to unleash a can of whoop ass up against the Jets defense. I love James Robinson in this matchup. No Carlos Hyde likely. So we got Dare Ogunbowale, who's going to be the backup, but James Robinson's the clear lead back. There's no, just dumb shit where Urban Meyer just takes out James Robinson for no reason, right? He's gone. So it's just James Robinson time. I love him up against the Jets. For the Jets, Carter didn't really do anything. Tevin Coleman's going to get used. They're all going to get used. It's stupid. I don't know why Michael Carter isn't the lead back, but it is what it is. I don't really want to start him after that performance last week. Next up, we move to the Detroit Lions at the Atlanta Falcons. The Detroit Lions are riding hot after just torching the Arizona Cardinals so much that the Arizona Cardinals, their Twitter account, never even posted the score of the game. If you are someone who just, if you're I almost said a Panthers fan. If you're just a Cardinals fan and you just have Twitter, right, you didn't watch the game, you wouldn't even know that the game's over. You'd think there'll be in fucking 7 million overtimes like it's in college. I understand the game would just end in the NFL, but you get what I'm saying. It's like the game is still going for some reason, which is hilarious. Give the Detroit Lions fans what they deserve, Arizona. Post that fucking picture. Hold the L. Cordero Patterson last week scores a touchdown right at the beginning of the game, like off the rip, and they call it back. Then after that, basically, Cordero Patterson didn't do anything. That was a very bad game script, though, in that matchup. They were getting the shit beat out of them. Cordero Patterson in a matchup up against the Lions. I wouldn't think the Lions would beat down the Falcons so much that Cordero Patterson would just become irrelevant. So I like Patterson here in a bounce-back spot up against the Detroit Lions. For the Lions, there are some rumors, there are some talk floating around about how DeAndre Swift could return in this matchup. Now, I have yet to see anything official about that, so I'm not really going to comment on that heavily. I don't really think DeAndre Swift is going to play, but if he does, then you're going to play him. If it's Jamal Williams and Craig Reynolds, honestly, I would just sit both of them because I think Reynolds might be better than Jamal Williams, but I don't know how that split share is going to be working, I should say, so I'd probably just fade away from that as a whole for the Detroit Lions backfield. And then Mr. Mike Davis, sit down, pal. You're not that guy. Next up, we move to the LA Chargers at the Houston Texans. While I was recording this video, I peeked at my phone when I went to get a sip of water, and Austin Eckler is now on the COVID list, right? Basically, everyone has COVID. My mind is like, you ever seen that movie Megamind where the dude has a huge fucking head? That's basically what my head looks like, trying to keep track of all of these players with COVID. Austin Eckler is vaccinated based upon the report I read. So it is entirely possible that we're sitting here on Wednesday, that he plays on Sunday. Now, is that a 100% locked and loaded thing? No, of course it's not locked and loaded that he's going to play. So if you have Austin Eckler, pick up Justin Jackson. I think that Austin Eckler could play, so I'm going to start him if he plays. If he does not play, then you take Justin Jackson. You grab Justin Jackson, and you just lift him up a little bit, throw him into the starting spot. You take Eckler, you throw him out the fucking window because you can't play a guy with COVID. Justin Jackson will be a great start here up against the Houston Texans if Austin Eckler cannot play. And if Eckler can play up against the Houston Texans defense, he is going to absolutely smash Hulk style into this one. For the Texans, Davis Mills actually isn't bad. Davis Mills might be the second best rookie quarterback in the NFL right now. Probably the second best, right? Behind Justin Fields. And I'm being honest with you, that may sound fucking insane, but think about it. What has Zach Wilson shown us? What has Trevor Lawrence shown us? What has Trey Lance shown us? He hasn't even really played. I guess Mac Jones might be the second best. So the third best rookie quarterback. And I understand that might sound crazy, but he genuinely might be the third best rookie quarterback. David Johnson, Rex Burkhead, don't want anything to do with these guys. The Texans' run game is putrid. Next up, we move to the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Mixon is banged up. I talked about this in the waiver wire video, that if you have Joe Mixon as your running back or one of your running backs, then pick up Samaje Perine, because if Joe Mixon does not play, then I think you can still just launch Samaje Perine into your lineup. Now, does Samaje Perine have the exact same upside as a guy like Joe Mixon? Of fucking course not, because Samaje Perine is not as good as Joe Mixon, but in this scenario, I think he will be just fine. Joe Mixon, if he is good to go up against the Baltimore Ravens, I think he will have a fine day. No longer really super excited about Mixon, but he still has that upside, right? We saw that stretch of games where he was really impressive. For the Baltimore Ravens, seemed more like a 50-50 split between Freeman and Latavius Murray last week up against the Green Bay Packers. Maybe that changes with Lamar Jackson potentially coming back. I'll be honest with you, in the playoffs, I'm going to avoid a situation like this. Next up, we move to the Chicago Bears at the Seattle Seahawks. Rashad Penny, you motherfucker. And I don't even know if it's his fault. Is it his fault? Or is Pete Carroll just a fucking dunce? Because Rashad Penny looked great prior to last week. And then last week, he basically does nothing. Now, Would I fade away completely from Rashad Penny? No, because I think he is still the clear lead running back. He did see more touches than DJ Dallas, but DJ Dallas was way better. So if you are in the scenario where you don't have to start Rashad Penny, you have other good running backs, then don't even look towards Rashad Penny, right? He's kind of one of those bottom of the barrel starts where you're really just hoping that he is the lead running back, because if he is, he really could have a great game up against the Bears. But the problem is you don't really know for sure if he's going to be the guy. I'm definitely going to sit DJ Dallas, though, because I don't think he elevated himself past Rashad Penny. David Montgomery has been playing some solid football as of recently. Now, it's not the exact same as last season, because down the stretch last season, David Montgomery was a league-winning running back. At the beginning of the year, the guy was like a tortoise, very slow. But just like in that children's book, slow and steady wins the goddamn race, and David Montgomery finished amazingly at the end of the season. Now, he's not necessarily having these smash games where he's just beating down these defenses, but he has been a lot more consistent as of recently, so I'm definitely going to play David Montgomery up against the Seahawks defense, who isn't all that great up against the run. I would say they fucking suck up against the run. For the other running backs in this game, again, DJ Dallas, wiki, I'm not really comfortable playing him, and Khalil Herbert, definitely the backup for David Montgomery. Don't worry too much about Khalil Herbert. Next up, we move to the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Kansas City Chiefs. In this game, I like both of the running backs. Both of these running backs, though, were disasters last week. If you started both of them, you're not sitting here right inside of the next round unless your opponent was just shit the bed, because they were both just so bad. Najee Harris didn't do much for the Steelers. They finally get onto the goal line. They run with Najee Harris, doesn't work, and then Big Ben fucking jumps on over there, goes into the end zone. Najee Harris doesn't do shit up against the Chiefs. I don't know. This just seems like a game the Pittsburgh Steelers just magically are really close in this game. So I'm going to start Najee Harris, but my confidence is at an all-time low. Clyde Edwards-Helaire also shits the bed up against the LA Chargers. Not great. That was a very high-scoring game, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire was basically nowhere to be found, but Darrell Williams wasn't really anywhere to be found either. I will jump back on the saddle with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, though, this week, because he is the number one back on the Kansas City Chiefs. The other running backs, to me, just don't have any fantasy relevance at all in this matchup. Next up, we move to a game between the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders. In Viva Las Vegas. For the Denver Broncos, you just have to continue to roll both of these running backs out. Any given week, the thing that will take one over the top of the other is going to be a touchdown or maybe 2 or 3 extra targets that just go their way and they end up outscoring the other one. This is one of those situations. I've talked about this so much, so I'm going to give you kind of the too long didn't read version, but this is a situation where if either of these running backs were just lifted out of here and thrown onto another team, then both of them would have the potential to be running back ones, a top 12 running back, week in and week out. But that's not the case because they're both on the same team. So they limit each other's upside, but at the same time, they both have very high upside, especially since the way the Denver Broncos win these games is just by running the ball aggressively. That is the focal point of this offense. Now, they do have horsecock Drew Lock under center. I hope that Teddy Bridgewater is okay. Obviously, that injury was terrible. Whenever you see an injury like that, it hurts to see. So I hope Teddy Bridgewater is okay, but Drew Lock will be under center, which means that this game could go absolutely bananas, meaning that Drew Lock doesn't really take these safe plays like Teddy Bridgewater. He doesn't just dump it off. Drew Lock just does one of those, fuck it, Cortland Sutton's out there somewhere, fuck it, Noah Fant's out there somewhere, Jerry Jeudy, any of these guys, Tim Patrick, and he just launches the thing down the field. It's very fun to watch, but it's not the greatest for fantasy football, so I worry slightly about Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon due to that, but I think they will both be fine. Again, the game plan for the Broncos here up against the Raiders should be to aggressively run the football. For the Las Vegas Raiders, Josh Jacobs is just one of these running backs that you start every week. You can't really expect them to be a top 5, top 10, top 12 running back, but you can expect them to be like running back 18, running back 20 every single week. There's no real fun in starting him, but he never really screws you over. He's just a safe play, so I'm playing him here. Up against the Broncos, his backup would be Peyton Barber. Peyton Barber did get a better situation, obviously, without Kenyon Drake. But again, he's not going to be sniffing the amount of touches of Josh Jacobs, so I'm definitely going to be sitting him down. Now we move to Sunday Night Football with the game that everyone wants to watch. Who doesn't love the fucking NFC East playing all the time in prime time? We got Washington versus the Eagles yesterday. Let's watch Washington again, right? Who the fuck wants to see this? NFL. Who wants to see this? Sorry for yelling, but what the fuck, man? It's so annoying. Washington at the Dallas Cowboys. Zeke, hallelujah. He does something. He plays well. Thank you. Now, Tony Pollard is listed as limited, so maybe if Pollard doesn't play, the upside of Zeke could be even higher. He was limited in practice on Wednesday, which is today. So Zeke, you know, maybe I'm finally back in on him. Hopefully he doesn't screw me over. Dak has been playing like shit, so hopefully they continue to just run the ball gently down the stream. For Washington, Antonio Gibson is back. He gets banged up, but I think he should be good to go in this game. Though I'm not as excited about him this week because of the chance that maybe he's not 100% in this game, considering they just played last night and now they got to play on Sunday night, right? It's weird going Tuesday to Sunday. Again, I think he will be healthy to play, but I think his upside could be limited. So not a guy I'm going to talk about as a top 12 running back, but should have a solid game. Jarrett Patterson will be his backup because J.D. McKissic is out for the rest of the season. Next up, we move to the final game here. Monday Night Football between my Miami Dolphins at the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Dolphins, I didn't think this was going to happen. I didn't think that Duke Johnson was just going to take over. I wasn't excited about Myles Gaskin. But man, oh man, Duke Johnson, 2 tugs last week, over 100 yards. Excellent game. The question here at hand, and I talked about this in the waiver wire video earlier, there's going to be basically 3 situations here that can unfold. One is that Duke Johnson last week was the lead running back because Myles Gaskin was not able to practice. Because he was out all week of practice. So he said, you know what, Brian Flores said, oh, you know, we'll give Duke Johnson the carries. Next week, we'll fizzle back to Myles Gaskin. But Myles Gaskin did see some work, but he wasn't the lead running back. And then there's the other argument that, oh, Duke Johnson was the lead running back because Gaskin hasn't performed all that well. And then there's kind of the middle, which is where I kind of sit on this situation, which is like, maybe they like what they saw in Duke Johnson. He was running much harder than Myles Gaskin. And with that said, they're still going to use Myles Gaskin, and they kind of just commit to maybe a 50-50 split share between the two. Obviously, other running backs will be touching the ball, but more of a 50-50 approach. And I think that's honestly what we're going to be looking at in this game, and that scares the fuck out of me for fantasy football, so I'm not going to be starting either of those running backs. For the Saints, I understand Alvin Kamara shit the bed up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but again, that was a game where the score was 9-0. It was 9-0. I don't think this game is going to be 9-0. I think the Miami Dolphins and the Saints will score a lot more points than that. So Alvin Kamara will be a start for me. So I'm going to play Alvin Kamara, and then Mark Ingram's the backup. Not going to be playing him because Kamara is the clear lead back when healthy. So thank you guys all for watching today's video. Things are going to change this week. Why? Because half the fucking league is getting COVID, it seems like. And I would knock on wood. I hope all these guys return. It's crazy times we are in right now. So there's probably going to be many more of these things that happen throughout the week. Injuries happen. Shit's confusing to make because I make the video and then 30 minutes later someone else has COVID. Like during the recording of this video, I found out that Eckler had COVID. That's just how crazy things are. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you did end up enjoying. I love you guys all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, complete.